Football fans everywhere know the records. 61,361 total yards passing, 4,967 completions, 420 touchdowns. A burning desire to be the best, and there are those who say he is the best to ever play quarterback in the National Football League. Dan Marino lived a career playing quarterback that even the best can only dream of. Now we answer the one question that many have often asked: where did the dream begin?
For me, it was my stepping stone to be able to go to college, and my dream of being a professional football player one day all started really at Central Catholic, playing football there. So you make friendships and it's just a great tradition.
Football-wise at Central, first of all, it's the school itself. Everybody that's ever went there has a pride and a certain sense of community they carry with them their whole lives, because they went to Central for 4 years and they graduated, and they're part of the pride in the school. And I've had that. No matter where you go in the country, I'll meet people that may be older than me or younger than me, and wherever it may be, sometimes they'll come and say, hey, I graduated from Central Catholic, and it's like a camaraderie thing and a sense of pride and a passion for the school that you have that you carry with you your whole life.
Dan Marino is passionate about everything he does, and he's quick to point out that Central Catholic in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is where he did more than just dream. He found a way to pursue his dream. While his family and friends say it was in high school that he began to take shape, the reality is that he was throwing a ball before he could even walk. At 9 years old, Danny was one of 2 water boys for the St. Regis grade school football team. Even as a kid, the most important parts of his life were family and playing sports.
I had a great experience of, living on Parkview Avenue. Like I said, there was a lot of young kids. It was an ethnic neighborhood, and it was very competitive, and there was a field down the street that, we could go to and play. We played ball in the street, and having a school right across from you there, it was a great environment, a great competitive environment, family-loving community to grow up in, and I wouldn't change that.
It was during his younger days that Danny became one with the number 13. For many, 13 is considered unlucky, and it wasn't exactly Dan's first choice. But after being stuck with it in Little League Baseball, year after year, he decided it was the number for him.
Well, the story was really growing up as a kid. My dad was a Little League coach, and numbers for the baseball team was 1 through 15. And he had 15 kids on the team. So basically, usually if your dad's the coach, you get to pick what number you want. Well, I didn't get to pick, so everybody picked first, and then it always seemed that 13 was the only number left, and I used to get it. So I basically, at a young age, I just made it my number, and that's kind of how it worked out.
While on his jersey he wore number 13, for the coaching staff at Pittsburgh Central Catholic, he was number 1. And they knew that when the Marino family decided that Central was the school for their son, this kid was going to be someone special on the football field and just as talented on the baseball team.
I was on the football staff, I was on the varsity staff, and had a chance to witness all his freshman football games. When I knew he was in the building, I think I kissed the ground and said, thank God he came here instead of going to Alderdice or going to Shenley or any of the other schools. I sort of kept an eye out for him. I never taught him in class. I would go to him often during the days to make sure he was okay, and he was very quiet. He was very shy. And so when I finally got near to the baseball season, I brought him out. And at that time, I was the head JV coach. And I brought him out with the JVs, and he completely controlled the game.
Danny's sophomore year, I was coaching at another high school, and he was the reason I came back to Central Catholic. I thought that he was just a fantastic talent, and I really wanted to work with him, and I thought he was just a great talent, and we could have a great football team with him and around him, and it kind of worked out that way. We did work in the summer. We had, a lot of drills we did, and passing drills, passing camps, types of things, and he had great ability to start with. I mean, he had a great release. He had a great arm. He had so many of the intangibles. He had great vision, and I think that people maybe don't realize the great vision he had. He would find the second receiver, the third receiver.
Even in high school?
Even in high school. People thought I was crazy when I talked about it, and I said, listen, I got a kid that can do this stuff. And he just had the vision, and he also understood the game. He was really a bright football player. He understood coverages, he understood man-to-man, cover three, even back then as a junior in high school. He could just grasp everything.
Played a little bit as a sophomore, played on some special teams, believe it or not, as a sophomore, on kickoff team and kickoff return team, but didn't play that much quarterback, played JV. But then, I started my junior year.
High school football in Western Pennsylvania is huge. I mean, it's a tradition, especially at Central Catholic, where, most recently, they've been state titles twice and won state championship last year, so that tradition carries on, and it's a big deal. Friday night, going to the high school football game, and it's important to the people, important to the families, important to the community, important to the school and the kids, and and it's that tradition that carries on, and Central has always had that, and I think that we had that in a way pretty special. The 4 years I was there, I do remember my dad taking me to watch Central games when I was in 7th and 8th grade, and I'm thinking I wanted to go, and go to that school and play and be on the football team when I was even younger. So that, so you see that tradition as it grows in young kids and wanting to go, play high school football here, especially at Central.
And play he did. Marino turned heads every time he stepped on the field. At 6'4", he was a presence, and he had the athletic ability to make one big play after another. His numbers for a quarterback in the 1970s were staggering. Marino threw 16 touchdown passes, rushed for 419 yards, had 26 extra points, 3 field goals, and averaged more than 40 yards per punt. He was selected as a high school football parade All-American his senior season.
Well, I think it was said best in Sports Illustrated. Somebody said when the Rules Committee of the NFL sat down to open up the airways, they knew he was out there. A 6'4" kid with a quick release and a cannon arm and the guts to throw through any coverage. And the article said maybe Texas, maybe California. The next sentence was, actually, he was roaming the halls at Pittsburgh Central Catholic. And I think Danny not only had the physical tools, but he had the leadership ability, and he had the guts to again, throw that football through any coverage. It was just amazing.
We were throwing it back then, 18, 20, 22, 25 times a game. That was a season for most teams in Western Pennsylvania. I remember his junior year against Fox Chapel, I think he threw 36 or 38 passes, and we got in a shootout, and I think we lose 28-21, and we were throwing all the time. And nobody did that in Western Pennsylvania. But I think we did good things with him, and we took advantage of what he gave us. Danny always thought he could do it. And I felt the same way. If we threw it on first down and it was incomplete, we'd throw it on second down. And then we throw it on third down. I figured he was never going to be worse than 1 out of 3. So, what's the difference?
As a quarterback, Dan Marino led the Miami Dolphins to an unbelievable 37 fourth-quarter comebacks, second only to John Elway. While Dan perfected this craft as a pro, it was during his senior season at Central Catholic when he orchestrated one of the greatest comebacks in Central Catholic history. The Vikings were battling rivals North Allegheny. Late in the game, Marino marched down the field and wound up connecting with Brad Totten for the game-tying touchdown at 18. Marino converted the extra point, giving Central Catholic the 19-18 victory, marking the first time Dan Marino pulled off a fourth quarter comeback.
He was going to be the very best he could be. He was going to be the best. And he had confidence in his ability, and he was going to do whatever it would take to achieve the highest level. And he was a hard worker. He didn't shirk his responsibilities. And I think he earned what he got. It wasn't handed to him. I think he earned what he got at every level.
The way Danny took control, though, was more through his leadership, the way he led, the way he performed. His expectation was that he raised the bar for everybody, including himself. And through example, most of the time we followed.
No matter what the situation, there was nothing Dan Marino enjoyed more than throwing a touchdown pass.
All touchdown passes are special, no matter where you throw them. But I was proud of my time at Central Catholic, and I'm not sure. I can't remember how many touchdowns I threw or how many yards, but I know we were a real good high school football team, and it wasn't only because of myself, although I'll take credit for it. Yeah. But we had some really skilled players, some good guys, and guys that worked hard all the time, and that's what made Central so great.
The first game our senior year against Highlands, I ended up having, I believe it was 6 catches, 3 of which were for touchdowns. Most memorable to me because, as a tight end, I probably wasn't Danny's first choice on a lot of passes, but he seemed to find me. And against Highlands, he found me a few times.
In high school, I think it really is you're out there playing the game of football with a bunch of your friends, really, And I think the quality of leadership at that age comes through what you do in your performance on the field, and it really is, it's that way in all levels, but I think in high school, more or less, it is just the performance on the field. I mean, you could, be a rah-rah guy or talk a lot, and I wasn't my, attitude ever really, but it really comes with, your performance and the way you, handle yourself.
We often just threw our clothes in the bleachers. We didn't have a locker room facility, and sometimes the freshmen would be working out in here or warming up. And I remember pointing to one of my buddies. We were seniors, Danny was a freshman, and I said, that kid's unbelievable. Those skills are just incredible. And I said, that kid's going to play in the National Football League someday. And of course, it came true. But he was just very blessed, very skilled athletically, but also very poised. Was a leader even at that age. I believe he was moved up to the JV in a couple different sports, and just incredible poise for a kid his age.
By his junior year at Central, there was no question that this was his football team, and he always believed in himself and his teammates. Nicky Masiosi was the star running back, and Marino the quarterback. The fans knew them both as M&M. But this was not a candy treat. Instead, it was offensive firepower that could score from anywhere on the field. While the offensive coaching staff designed and called the plays for Marino, it was not uncommon for him to try to convince his coaches that he should call the plays.
He called all the plays, but there was, sometimes it's hard to remember because it's a while ago, but there were times I think where we could change the play. He may say something different, but I think we had some of that. We we're a team that was, what I remember, we were pretty balanced. Nicky Masiosi was our running back, tailback. He was a strong player, and we ran a lot of I formation and some play action passing. We'd roll out of the pocket a little bit. But we were probably balanced pretty much 50-50 run and pass. But at times, you know, if we had to, we would throw it more if we needed to.
I think Dan had a great presence in the huddle. I think he elevated the play of all the people around him and made everyone better, including me. You know, he opened my eyes to the passing game, and we did things that he certainly was able to do. Now, I remember when he was going into his senior year, he asked me, he said, "Coach, how about letting me call some automatics?" And I kind of acted dumb. I said, "Well, what's an automatic?" He said, "Oh, you know, I get up to the line of scrimmage and I change the play." And I said, "So you're going to call the plays?" He said, "Well, not really." But I said, "Okay, we'll run some automatics." He goes, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, you'll automatically run the play I call." But, you know, I just thought that he had enough things to think about. But during the play, you know, he had 2-3 variables on many plays, and plays I'm still running today at Carnegie Mellon.
He had a very strong field command. You know, he had an idea of what we were all able to accomplish, and he pretty much led by example. You know, he wasn't one of those scream at you type people. He was more or less encouraged you, but you know, expected you to be able to raise your own bar.
Leo Wisniewski is a current assistant coach on the Central Catholic staff, but as a player, he could not get away from Dan Marino. He was a defensive tackle who lined up across from Marino in high school at Fox Chapel, in college at Penn State, and in the NFL with the Indianapolis Colts. His memories of Marino are not so pleasant. In a lifetime of chasing Dan, he never quite caught up to him.
Danny Marino was a special player, and it was easy to see that at the high school level. I played at Fox Chapel High School, Danny, of course, here at Central Catholic. And Danny had a big league arm, you know, he was 6'3" and athletic, so it was easy to project, even when he was a young quarterback in high school. I'm a year ahead of Danny, that he was going to be a Division I player. It was my unfortune that at Penn State we had to face Danny. Then had to face him when I was with the Colts. Unfortunately, twice a year then, and he torched us in each of the games in '83, '84, '85 that I played against Danny. There wasn't too much that I had by way of any inside secrets to tell our secondary, you know, to play well against them. And in fact, we were a very young team, and we made the mistake of sitting back in a 4-deep zone coverage, and Danny just picked us apart.
By the time Marino was a senior in high school, the nation's top college football programs were well aware that this young quarterback had the tools to become a superstar. Not only was Dan a standout in football, but there are those to this day that believe he is an even better baseball player.
I always said that if Tiddlywinks could get you $1 million, Danny would be the best at it. It just was Danny's nature. Danny could do everything well. Baseball was something that he had been so well schooled when he was very young by his dad, and the thing he loved baseball.
He was the starter on a Division I NCAA football team. And in our room, he used to swing a baseball bat 100 times a day. Not just swinging the bat like he was swinging a bat just for swinging a bat purposes, but he was watching the ball leave the pitcher's hand. He was watching for a curveball, watching the spin on the ball. And that's just the way Danny was. When nobody was looking, he was bettering himself.
Marino was selected in the 4th round of the Major League Baseball draft by the Kansas City Royals and now had to decide, football or baseball. It was a tough decision, but to this day, Dan has no regrets.
You know, maybe when I was in college and when I was playing the summer leagues around the city of Pittsburgh, I used to do that and used to love playing, you know, summer league baseball. here in Federation League or whatever it may be. You know, you sometimes at that time I would regret maybe I should have tried it, but you know, after getting into college and being successful there at Pitt playing quarterback, you know, I knew the future for me was playing in the NFL and being a quarterback.
After looking at all the options, Dan Marino, with his family at his side, signed a letter of intent to play college football for Jackie Sherrill at the University of Pittsburgh.
From high school, I could walk to the stadium. From my house, I could walk to Pitt Stadium. You know, it's pretty special when you're a kid being able to, you know, play high school football, college football in the same basic neighborhood that you grew up in, and all the family and friends are there. So, you know, that's a pretty unique thing. So I wanted that opportunity. And also, I remember, you know, going to, you know, Pitt Stadium and watching Tony Dorsett and Kavanaugh those years early on, not only with my dad, but with other guys from the neighborhood. You know, Larry Lamondi's dad, Abby, he was on the ground crew at Pitt, but he lived right up the street from me, and we used to go to the games. We'd just walk right in and stand on the field. When I was, you know, a freshman and sophomore in high school, I'd be able to, you know, watch the games from the field because, you know, Abby worked on the ground crew. So there's that tradition there that, you know, I kind of had to go to Pitt.
Dan Marino, with his ability to put the ball not only on the money, but get it by defenders when they're standing there powerless. As soon as he releases it, they know where it's going. It's already by them before they can react. Those plays that he made at Pitt are just, you know, so special that, you know, they're kind of etched in your brain. I can still see many of them. And I didn't see his whole Miami Dolphin career. I was busy frying other fish. But, you know, his plays at Pitt were really, you know, just standards. That's probably the best way I can describe it.
To this day, one of the greatest moments in college football history came in the Sugar Bowl his junior season, when he fired a touchdown pass on 4th down to John Brown, sealing victory for the Panthers.
Brown, touchdown! John Brown makes a great catch with 35 seconds to play.
And they call a timeout. It's 4th down, and they're close enough that they can try the field goal to tie the game. And Sal Sinceri looked at Jackie and said, "Come on, Jackie, let's kick the field goal and get out of here and go party on Bourbon Street." Danny's over, a couple people away, little Gatorade to his mouth. He puts the cup down and looks Sherrill right in the eye and says, "Coach, give me the ball, I'll win the game." And Jackie looked at him and said, "You look like you mean that." He says, "Give me the ball, I'll win the game."
Last play for him. Marino goes deep. Brown, touchdown! John Brown makes a great catch with 35 seconds to play.
When Marino walked to the sideline after the touchdown toss, head coach Jackie Sherrill embraced him, grateful for his gutsy call in the face of defeat. Because of all he had accomplished, in 1990, Central Catholic retired Dan's jersey.
So officially today, to retire number 13. Dan, congratulations.
It's tough to put things on paper when you have so many things in your heart that you want to say. And I said to myself, what I'm going to do is just stand up here and talk from my heart and what Central Catholic meant to me, what some of the people here, my coaches and my family meant to me during this time in my life.
But the high school experience for Central prepared me in a lot of ways, not only, you know, to go play athletically, but it made you conscious of a lot of things, you know, that you would be aware of to become an adult and a human being that would be successful in society in general. And if you look at the school, there are some very successful people that went to Central Catholic, all walks of life, you know, and I think that's the one thing I would say is you know, I was prepared to go on and do other things, and I think a lot of it related to my, you know, time spent there, my 4 years at Central.
Danny was just on a different pedestal. It was kind of, this is the guy who went to Central. He is Central, and you know, his jersey was there, and it was almost one of the surreal things. You didn't think he actually went to your high school, but now looking back, how he supports Central and you know, my experience there, you know, you appreciate what he means to that school.
The Pitt Panthers have also retired number 13 in his honor, as did the Miami Dolphins. And now the National Football League Hall of Fame welcomes him as one of only 28 quarterbacks inducted into the shrine, where the greatest who've played the game live on forever. To many, he is the greatest football player to ever live. To those who know him well, he's an even better man.
So many people go on and just forget about where they came from, and he never has. And and you talk to him today, and he gives you a big hug and say, "Coach, how you doing?" when he sees you. I mean, and he makes you feel like you're the big guy. I mean, he's the big guy. He's going in the Hall of Fame. He's one of the greatest players at any position of all time, and yet he makes you feel like you're the important person.
He's what a quarterback needs to be, and he did it for so long. And now that I played 2 years, 2 full seasons, I appreciate how hard it is to play as many years as he did, to stay in the physical shape, to do it year after year, and to go for the Super Bowl. So he's played for all the right reasons. What he's done for Central, Pittsburgh, Miami, and the community, I mean, it's tremendous, and it's gonna be nice this summer watching him, like I said, get some recognition in Canton.
More people should have gotten to meet and say hello to Dan Marino. This is a genuine person who, what you see in front of you is exactly the way he is in his life. And he has done all the things that we all thought he was capable of doing.
Prepared for his greatness even as a high school kid. He sensed that he was going to be great. And I know all high school kids, I did it, you did it, we all dreamed to be whatever. Athletically, most of us don't come close. But Dan knew he was good enough athlete, great enough athlete, but he was prepared for his greatness in so many other ways, and that makes the person Dan Marino.
I think he has dragged all of Central, all of Pitt, all of the city of Pittsburgh with him to Canton, and I think it's going to show up there that day.
I was with Joe Green a couple weeks ago, and at a function, and he said, you better be prepared going up there, because you think you can handle everything, but when you get up on stage and you see all the family and friends and people that will be coming from Pittsburgh and Florida and all around the country, he says it's overwhelming. So I've been thinking a lot about it, and it's humbling in a way, because you think of all the people that played sports and all the kids that wanted to play in the NFL, and to be one of that select group. It's pretty humbling and it's pretty special, and I'm really looking forward to it.